Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We're your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution with core breaking news, culture, matic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. This is Simply Bitcoin Live. We bring on all Bitcoiners from the biggest names to the everyday Bitcoiner. If you're interested on coming in the show, reach out to me on the Orange Pill app, reach out to me on Twitter DM, and we'll be happy to book you. Today's gonna be a great show. Mass adoption is happening on a worldwide scale. Reuters, even the legacy corporate media, which, you know, a lot of the time they're enemies of Bitcoin. Remember the article by the New York Times basically came out like people are seeking alternatives, specifically in countries that are the most affected by inflation, right? And it's interesting because, you know, the powers that be, the establishment, whether it's, you know, from the United Nations to the IMF, and all these institutions were created supposedly to help people, you know, they're coming out and they're staunchly against this movement. They're saying stuff like, you know, this is a threat to financial stability. This is a threat to monetary sovereignty. And I have a very simple question for them. Like, how are people going to, you know, pay their bills? How are people going to feed their families if they go down the system of which you want them to use? Now, it's convenient for them if they use that system, if people continue to use state money, because that's how they control people. That's literally. So like, you know, and this is something that we've always said about Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin exposes incentives, right? And it's exposing the incentives of these institutions. And it's really highlighting the fact that these institutions are not really for the people of the world as they, you know, promote themselves to be. These institutions are really for themselves, right? It's really about money, power, politics, and as much of that power that they can keep to themselves, I think, for the better. But in the process, it's really hurting people. Like we gave you in my opinion, it's the textbook example of Argentina, where the IMF said, hey, we'll give you these, you know, we'll bail out your country with these SDRs that we could just print out of thin air, as long as one of the clauses in that bailout is, hey, you must de-incentivize the adoption of Bitcoin in your country. Well, it looks like people are just not listening. And it's really simple as to why they're not listening. Incentives matter here. As much as the central planners would want a central plan, people at the end of the day, what do they care about? They care about their family. They care about getting fed. They care about, you know, making a living. And if the currency that they're being forced to use by their local governments is failing in epic fashion, clearly people are just going to be like, okay, we need to find another alternative. Now, before Bitcoin, there really wasn't a good alternative, right? You know, a lot of these countries, they start to dollarize. So a lot of people try to get their hands on dollars, but then the government makes it very difficult for them. In the case of Argentina, the Argentinian banks seized people's dollar accounts in their bank accounts, right? But that all kind of, you know, gets flipped on its head when people no longer have to store their wealth in a bank or in a third party. They could, you know, write down a 12 to 24 word seed phrase, and they could take self-custody of their wealth. And that makes it very difficult for the central planners to central plan to control the money. And don't fall for their BS narrative of this is for you. This is for financial stability. You know, this is for the monetary sovereignty of these countries. No, it's for the monetary sovereignty of you guys. It is definitely not for the monetary sovereignty of the individual. And I think that's what we're rising here. I think that's what we're witnessing here. We're witnessing the rise of sovereign individuals, and the way that they're able to achieve that sovereignty is through Bitcoin. Anyways, before we start the show, I want to bring up my legendary co-host, always optimistic. He did send me a selfie this morning, so I know he's in a good mood. Opti, 1 through 10, how much coffee did you consume this morning?
What's per cup basis? I'm gonna go with 2 because I only had 2 cups of coffee this morning, so not a whole pot. But hey, you know, sometimes I don't need a whole pot. I got some rest last night, Nico. I think I slept for like 10 hours, so I'm good to go. I went to bed at like 8 o'clock, like an old guy.
That's some good news. Yes, bro. At the end of the day, it is very exciting. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Muzz himself. He is the managing partner at Lightning Ventures. How you doing, Mike?
I'm better than excellent. Thank you for asking.
Wow.
Certainly had more than 2 cups of coffee. That's for sure.
That's why you're better than excellent.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that OPA plug in the beginning. That's pretty cool. Keep the spammers out, hit us up there. But Opti, good to hang with you again. And yeah, thanks for having me on and hanging.
Man, it's an honor. And for anyone who doesn't know, Lightning Ventures, it's a VC focused exclusively on Bitcoin companies, right? And you guys fund Bitcoin companies. You guys are a big, you contribute to a lot of these companies' growth and expansion strategies because you need money to do that. So I think you play a key role in these ecosystem, or like we like to call it, in the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. And we're going to spend the whole culture segment focusing on just that, focusing on Lightning Ventures, because I think a lot of people don't really see this side of Bitcoin, and I think it's equally as important. Anyways, everybody, no more delay. Let's jump straight into the show. Let's do it.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Brought to you by Nodl. At this point, you should be running your own Bitcoin node. If you don't use your own Bitcoin node, you're trusting someone else's. Run your own version of Bitcoin Core, the Lightning Network, Whirlpool, and Dojo, all from the comfort of your own home. And if you're a digital nomad, you have absolutely no excuse, because now you can run a Nodl through a virtual private server. Visit nodl.eu today. Everybody, I also want to tell you about the biggest Bitcoin conference on the face of the earth. It's coming up literally next week, Bitcoin 2023, Miami Beach, Florida, May 18th through the 20th. And you can use the promo code SIMPLY to get yourself a big discount. This is the biggest Bitcoin celebration of the year, and the speaker list is absolutely insane. We have a presidential candidate currently in second place in the Democrat presidential primary. We have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., related to the president in the 60s. Michael Lewis, he's the author of The Big Short, Moneyball. We have the Chad Saylor, of course, Arthur Hayes, Alex Gladstein, Tulsi Gabbard, Eric Weinstein, Jack Mallers. We have a member of government from the country of Indonesia. We have Adam Back. We have Stacey Herbert, Senator Cynthia Lummis. We have Dylan LeClaire, Lynn Alden. Mike's going to be speaking there. Opti's going to be speaking there. He's going to be holding it down at analyst desk. I'm going to be on a couple panels as well. I think I'm going to be on the analyst desk as well. If you're looking to get a job in the space, there's no better place. You have to go to Bitcoin 2023. Do it quickly. I mean, you're going to have to plan it out because the conference is literally a week away. You definitely don't want to miss the biggest Bitcoin celebration of the year, Bitcoin 2023, promo code SIMPLY. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $27,425. Sats per dollar, 3,646. Block height, 788,958. Reachable Bitcoin nodes, 17,096. And blocks to halving, 51,042. Halving estimates April 22nd, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 5,387 Bitcoin. Capacity value $147 million US dollars, and the realized monetary inflation rate is 1.75%, and the market capitalization is $531 billion with a B. Anyways, today we want to talk about, we always kind of compare and contrast the two differences. And I think what I really want to compare and contrast today is, we're hearing this on a lot of the political channels. We're hearing this talk about, the debt ceiling and about how important it is, and about how the country's is basically going to fall on, catch on fire if it's not raised. So we're going to talk a little bit about the debt ceiling, what it is, what the actual definition of it is, what the long-term implications of it are. But here is Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, and she was questioned about, what would be the potential consequences of not raising the debt ceiling. This was her on CNBC yesterday. Let's check out the clip.
As every Treasury Secretary has known, the only option that really leaves our economy in good shape and our financial system is raising the debt ceiling and making clear that Congress stands behind the basic principle that America pays its bills. We're not a deadbeat country. And if that's compromised, even in the run-up to it, if it looks like we're going to go up against the ceiling and may not get it done, that will have tremendously adverse effects on financial markets and the economy. So there just is no good option.
So raise the debt ceiling, borrow more money, also known as printing more money. And then this thing that she said about America is not a debt-beat nation, it pays its bills. America's defaulted many times. And the one that's the most famous with Bitcoiners is when Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971, which led to basically the advent of fiat and the ability for the government to just continue to create money for free, unchecked whatsoever. At least before, they couldn't do that because it had to be backed by gold. That removed it altogether. So yeah, no, that's BS. America has defaulted on its debts before, multiple times, not just in 1971. But first, let's define what the debt limit is. Here is from the US Treasury website itself, and it says, the debt limit is the total amount of money that the United States government is authorized to borrow to meet its existing legal obligations, including Social Security, Medicare benefits, military salaries, interest on the national debt, tax refunds, and other payments. Now, but here's the thing. The United States spends so much money that there's no country on earth or sovereign wealth fund. You can make the argument that that's the same thing, or let's say just the private market, that has the ability to buy that many bonds that the US Treasury is issuing, right? So who buys these bonds? The Federal Reserve buys them, right? Anyways, so moving on, let's go through some data. Here's the total public debt as a percentage of the gross domestic product. Currently, the amount of debt is between 120 and 140% more than the GDP of the US. And that number continues to go up. As you can see, it is literally a hockey stick up into this right. This data goes all the way back to 1966. Interesting, right? In 1971, it seems like it started to accelerate a little bit. Here's 2008 when they started the QE experiment, and here's following up in 2020 when they printed the money due to the pandemic. So I mean, raise the debt ceiling. They're inevitably going to have to, but I mean, who's really paying the price for this? It's the younger generation. I think a lot of these politicians, due to Mother Nature, they're not going to be around in 10, 20 years. Now, here's where the crux of the issue is, right? Is that every single year, a bigger and bigger percentage of the government budget just goes to paying the interest on that debt. It doesn't even go to, Medicare, all these things that politicians talk about. It doesn't go to Medicare, social program, military expenditures. It goes to just paying the interest rate. And again, this chart goes all the way back down to 1947. And as you see, it is a hockey stick up into the right. Now, what percentage of the GDP, the national budget every single year is going to just paying the interest rate? So currently, the only thing that that they're spending more money on at the moment, but not for very long, based on how fast it's rising, is the budget. They spend more of the budget on Medicare and Social Security, but everything else, income security, defense, non-defense, we're currently paying more in interest on that debt than we're paying on everything else. And at the same time, you see Janet Yellen, she's making the case, we have to raise the debt ceiling. It's going to be catastrophic if we don't do it. But at the same time, they just announced, this came out May 9th, 2023, Biden administration announces additional security assistance for Ukraine, and they're basically sending another $1.2 billion. So, I mean, how could you take them seriously? Right? They're how could you take this? It's like, look, an average everyday pleb was just commenting, is I'm glad that they have their priorities straight. So it's one side is hey, we have to raise the debt ceiling. We have to allow us to borrow more money. Currently, the U.S. government is spending $1 trillion every year more than it's collecting in tax revenue. So I mean, you can't really take them seriously at this point. Here is the U.S. debt clock. And as you can see, it just continues to go up. The national debt is currently $31 trillion right now. Debt per citizen, $94,000. Debt per taxpayer, $247,000. So I mean, like, you can't even think, like, there's no way that they're ever going to pay this back, and we're going to reach a point where the interest payments are so high that the interest payments alone are going to take the majority the U.S. budget in the year. So I mean, so that's their system. That's what they're advocating for. But this is why Bitcoin exists. This is why Bitcoin is here. This is total clown world. You're seeing clown world happen, and I think that there's a lot of unintended consequences of this crazy fiat experiment. And I think a lot of these politicians that are advocating for this, a lot of these politicians that are pushing this forward, are not going to be the ones that feel the full brunt of their actions. It's really going to be the younger generations, the Gen Xers, the millennials, the Gen Z. I don't know what comes before Gen Z, but yeah, man, this is they're stealing from our future to pay for the now. And some of what they're paying for the now is funding a war in Ukraine with a nuclear armed nation. Like, and look, here's the thing, guys. If they didn't have the money printer, they wouldn't be able to do that, because they would only be able to raise money through direct taxation. Now, could you imagine if the guy in the suit on TV goes on and says, "Hey guys, we're raising the income tax more than it already is now because we want to fund a war thousands of miles away." They would literally be a revolution on the street. But the reason that they're able to get away with it is they get that money through the hidden tax of inflation, which a lot of people are just not aware of. A lot of people don't know how money works, right? So anyways, this is what we're going through. I'm going to get Mike's take on this first, and then we'll move on to Opti.
Well, my take, just to let you know, that Generation Y comes before Z, and that's also known as a millennial. So just wanted to get that out there. No, I mean, I'm thankful that there's no debtor prison, so that you can't just go to jail for whatever you owe, right? I mean, the government, it's just crazy. I haven't looked at those numbers in a while. It's unbelievable. But yeah, speaking of money, power, and politics, it's a heavy way to start. We're chatting about the evil VCs, right? It's so fiat, right? Just like a lot of different industries out there that can get a bad rap, right? Attorneys can get a bad rap, or guys selling cars can get a bad rap, but VCs often get a bad rap. So hopefully we can talk about how amazing the Bitcoin VC world is, and how you can participate as an individual if you want to get involved with investing yourself. You know, you don't need big minimums, and can support companies, and why kind of early stage technology investing is generally kind of kept away from retail.
And could you talk a little bit about that, right? Because there's a limit, right? There's a limit, right? You have to be you have to have liquid assets of over $1 million for you to get exposure, or for you, which is an absurd amount. So the government's basically saying you're too stupid or you're too poor. And if you don't have a certain amount of liquid assets, you're not entitled to invest like the elites do. So could you talk a little bit about how that currently works?
Oh, the accredited investor scam.
Yeah.
The thing that we should all be protesting in the middle of the streets, the thing everyone should be up in arms over. Yeah, absolutely. Basically, you have to meet this level of nonsense, right? These numbers of how sophisticated you are as an investor. And apparently, the government thinks that your sophistication level is directly correlated with how much money you have, right? When these two things should be judged completely differently, okay? If there was an accredited investor sort of little test you had to fill out online, oh yeah, I'm accredited, I did the 30-hour bullshit, okay? That would be one thing, right? But the government says, no, you have to actually make a bunch of money, and then you can lose it, right? And then we don't care if you lose it, right? But if, really, I think it's just to keep people out of probably the most powerful way to grow wealth It's how people get wealthy, is investing in early technology. And, the SEC has a very interesting take on how you are accredited, right? Because you don't need to actually submit any documentation. You just have to, click the right button. One of the requirements is you've had to make $200,000 in the previous year and have the expectation that you're going to make it this year, right? And if you're a positive thinking person, I'm always thinking positive. That would just clicking yes there, you would be an accredited investor. People think there's all of these other documents, but really it's kind of just a gate, to keep the riffraff out. But it's absolutely absurd that you can walk into any casino in America and lose your life savings on a hand of blackjack or a spin of a wheel. Not only that, but that's their business model, right? They plan on you losing. That's part of the scam. It's baked in that you will lose, right? But that's completely fine. But, if you want to invest $1,000 into the Orange Pill app or, one of these companies, right? Even early on, maybe you were in Blockstream or one of these monsters or Lightning Labs, or people that are really building the future. You can't do that unless you meet this ridiculous thing. Now, that's loosened since 2013. They came out with this JOLTS jumpstart our small businesses. And basically that allowed for some retail to start participating with like the Reg CF crowdfunding and the Reg A and some of this stuff. But really not a lot. It's very slow. That also made it so a company could raise directly from other people, which until then was not possible. You couldn't just be like, this is my company, and if anyone wants to invest, $100 or whatever, I want to be able to allow that to happen and to market it effectively, or just to let kind of your captive core enthusiastic audience know that they can invest, and a lot of times those are your best investors, right? People who love your company, not kind of dead weight sitting around. So these laws have loosened over time. I hope they continue to loosen. And I want you to know that I'm 100% against the entire scam of the accredited nonsense.
Yeah. And then at the same time, right, it's like, they come out and they say, okay, we want what's best for you. We want what's this. But at the, on the other hand, they're just like, yeah, raise the debt ceiling, which your children are going to have to pay. They're taking out of your pocket. So it's like the people that are supposedly watching for your best interest, passing these type of gatekeeper laws at the same time are also spending your future, completely disconnected from reality. So it's like, it's just like, it's so ridiculous. You can't take these people seriously. Like perhaps if they had a good reputation, perhaps, if they've been making financial decisions, like proper financial decisions with the country's future, to be like, okay, maybe these people care about me, but clearly they don't. I mean, their actions speak louder than words. Raise the debt ceiling even more, of which the future generations are going to suffer the consequences of that. And then also, not to mention, this is something that really pisses me off, is the fact that if you're on a W-2, if you're not a contractor and you're an employee, they automatically take Medicare out of your salary, out of your paycheck, of which, do you really think, after I showed you guys those charts, do you really think you're going to get a dime out of that back when you reach retirement age? You're not going to see a dime of it. So what is it really? It's a freaking Ponzi scheme. That's literally what it is. And you have no option to opt out of it. I mean, you do have an option. The option is Bitcoin, but you guys get where I'm going with this. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this, bro? So I maybe my memory is failing me, but I think you date Yellen before Chrissy, or did you date? Was it Chrissy and then you broke up with?
It was just one good night with both of them together, Nico. Come on, don't get me connected. All right. Being serious. Man, what's the point of the debt ceiling if it keeps moving up? Like they'll always find a reason to inch that up because they always want to spend more money. And I really like this comment here in the chat by Agent Gold. He says the debt ceiling is the limit on Congress's credit card and they get to choose how high it is. They'll never not raise it. And on that point, I saw this on Twitter earlier and I went to verify while you guys were talking. And I'm over here on NPR for the audio listeners. And here's the headline from NPR. Congress has raised the debt ceiling 78 times since 1960. So what's that? Like 1 point something times a year they raise the debt ceiling. It's absolutely laughable. Imagine running your personal finances like the U.S. government does. You'd be bankrupt. Hint, hint. It's almost like this is the way that it works. But man, we can opt out of this madness. We're Bitcoiners. If you don't like this game, at least now there's a fair game and you can save in Bitcoin. You don't have to save in the dollar because they are robbing you, and it's by design, guys. And the only way to, not get pushed behind is by opting out of the dollar. So this is what we talk about every single day. It's almost like there's a fix to this, and it's almost like it's Bitcoin, guys. You guys know this.
100%. All right, everybody. In honor of Mike being here today, we're gonna jump straight into the culture. Then we're gonna get to the news in the third segment. All right, everybody, let's do it.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today. All right, guys, I also want to tell you about Swan's new offer. Bitcoin is generational wealth, and you can secure your bright orange future with the Swan IRA. Real Bitcoin, no taxes. Swan offers both traditional and Roth options to best fit your needs. Create your IRA and start adding Bitcoin in less than 1 minute. Transfers and rollovers are available. Swan's Bitcoin experts will get you set up with no transfer fees and no minimum balance requirements. This is real Bitcoin, non-ETF or other derivative. Get the real thing and get it at Swan. Go to swan.com/IRA for more details. And of course, if you have any questions, doubts, concerns, you could always send me a message on the Orange Pill app or on Twitter DM, and I'll be happy to answer them. Anyways, the reason I wanted to jump straight into the culture segment today is we got the man, the myth, the legend, the one of the founders of Lightning Ventures, and I think. And I kind of want to double down on it, and you buried the lead there on the first segment, Mike, which is this idea that VCs get a bad rap, right? But at the same time, if you want Bitcoin companies to grow, right, we are fighting the monetary demons, right? Those Bitcoin companies need funding in order for them to grow, right? So could you first give a little bit of context about what VC is and why it's necessary in growing some company, unless you want to bootstrap it, but most people don't have the funds to do that themselves, right?
Yeah, the world of scaling startups and investing and venture capital, it's so fun. To me, it's the most interesting thing in the world because there's so much you can learn. Depending on how deep you want to go as far as, founders and MVPs and KPIs and just the world of financing and just how to bootstrap something, where to get funding, the psychology of choosing the right investor. You have to really do your due diligence on the investor as well if you're building something. And you can think about that a lot of different ways. If you'll answer the phone, if that person calls you at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, they're probably a good fit as an investor or a founder, and these are long, low time preference investments. You're with these companies through various life cycles, of their life cycle. And it's interesting because founders only get a couple of shots, right? VCs get to do many shots, right? Many different term sheet negotiations, many different board seats. And as a founder, you kind of do it once and you don't have that experience. And I think that there should be a lot more education, especially within the Bitcoin community, to the Bitcoin builders and founders and those teams that are scaling it, and how to do it right. So from the guy who doesn't know how to build anything except trying to build what I'm building with Lightning Ventures, we don't just invest and are gone. It's a relationship that lasts a very long time. Sometimes you get pulled in. I have ADD, the ADD mindset of having a portfolio of companies. It works well because you get pulled into one thing. There's a problem. Something happens. There's something to work through. Maybe you're like trying a little bit. You're more helpful and involved then, and then you're not, and then you're pulled away. And sometimes there are companies that you can't do anything for. What are we going to do for Strike? What can we do for Unchained? I think they might be past that point. Maybe some hiring, but that's just where they're at, and certain other investors can maybe introduce them to their next potential lead, right? And facilitate secondaries and help people access liquidity. I don't know anyone at Coca-Cola. Okay. But I certainly know how to connect portfolio symmetry within our group of companies and things that are going on and be as helpful as possible and try to leverage a network of people who are also super talented and unique and love this, right? And when you put all that together and you just try to support and help these companies grow, that's really what we're doing. It's not some sort of blood-sucking industry, and I think that's a lot of the rap that it gets.
Yeah, and then let's talk about, I think it's necessary, right? You kind of need you need it. So could you talk a little bit about that, like why it's necessary, Mike? Because I think a lot of these companies would not be able to get off the ground without additional funding.
Let's think about anything, and I like to bring things back to the music business a lot, right? So you're a band, you have a manager, okay? Why does a band need a manager? Why can't a band manage itself? Why can't a group of 5 musicians with their own individual takes on things and theories on life and whatever, why do they need a lawyer for their band, right? That's not music, law and music. Why would we need a lawyer? But you need a lawyer. Okay. Why would you need a manager? Why would you need someone to take 20% off the top and maybe help you with vision shaping and thinking and critical decisions, or just be there as a sounding board? Why do you need that person? Is it worth 20%? In my opinion, absolutely. Why would you need a booking agent? Can't the manager also be the booking agent? Now we're paying a booking agent, 15% of all the shows that we perform and that person books. You absolutely need, an agent. So you have all these different roles. They just fill so many different specific needs, and together they work as a team. So when you're a founder and you're building something, you may have a co-founder. You might be a solo founder. You might have 2 co-founders. You might have a CTO. You might have whatever you have, right? But you have a team. So then you want to pour gasoline on that fire. You need some money. Okay. So you can go out and you can raise a bit of cash to sell a bit of equity or an equity-like instrument, of your company. And that doesn't mean that person has any kind of control over you as a founder. Okay. They can't tell you what to do. They are only there to help and support your business at that stage. Okay. If Lightning Ventures invests in something, we have zero influence over anything that they can do. All we can do is cheer them on, read their updates, try and be proactive with introductions and anything that we can do, and just be helpful. Okay, we are not in there with board voting rights and all these other things that happen kind of at later stages. So I think that when you're putting together a cap table of advisors, or investors or whatever, you need to choose properly. And these people are very important. If you take an investment for, let's say that you're in gaming, why not? Let's say that you're in gaming and you have a gaming focused VC, who is very impressive in that world. That would probably be somebody who could do a lot for your business. So that might be something that you can manage, and then couple that with many other different VCs that have other relationships, right? So it's really just assembling a team. And some people, you just need capital, and those people are great too. Somebody with that just wants to cut decent sized checks, and then they're a dentist during the day, but they're a closet Bitcoiner, and they got the one earpiece in as they're doing the cavity or whatever. That person is still very valuable, right? He might not be as involved, but he reads the emails, he's providing capital. So everyone plays an important role.
Yeah, 100%. And I also now want to focus on, let's say you are so inclined and you want to invest in some of these companies. I've done so myself in a couple of them. And, how do they go about this? Could they do this through the Lightning Ventures app? And I want to read some of them for our audio listeners that you guys have invested in, which is we have Amber, we have Esteco, shout out Beauty on, we have the Bitcoin Company, we have Swan on there, we have Foundation Devices, we have Unchained Capital, we have Orange Pill app. We have Geyser, we have Scarce City, we have Start9, we have Strike, we have Thunder. So, I mean, like you guys have invested in, some of the biggest Bitcoin companies in the space. How if someone wants to partake in that, if someone wants to invest in these companies, Thunder Games, I saw there on there as well. How do they go about that?
So, well, there's a few different ways, right? Like, how do you participate? Well, first off, you can be an LP, okay, a limited partner in another person's fund, or if we were to ever have one, and you can invest in a fund, and then that person invests it for you, right? These things that you're talking about, we also have a deal by deal. It's like just your decision, right? You get to read our thoughts, you get to read what we put together, and then you can invest a low minimum of $1,000 or more, right? That's the thing, is it's NGU technology, and you should invest in a small amount of money when you get rolling with angel investing. You should not invest a lot, nor should you sell a bunch of Bitcoin to do so. But when you're talking about crazy outsized returns that we believe are going to outpace the price of Bitcoin, otherwise we wouldn't do that. Okay, if I didn't believe that investing in early stage Bitcoin companies was going to, and by the way, a lot of them have Bitcoin treasuries. Okay, so first off, this syndicate, until I can launch something, there's a really cool portfolio company on there called Digital Markets. They're doing all these things with liquid and actual securities. Okay, now when we can fund our Bitcoin companies using Bitcoin and not be in this fiat world, trust me, I'm trying, but it's very difficult and it takes a lot. And we're short stacked right now. I mean, we're running a first pilot fund. There's no fees, and we're living. We just don't have a budget for something like that. But we're gonna make it so you can invest Bitcoin. And I've gotten more requests lately to invest using Bitcoin than fiat than ever. I mean, it's just like some people, and they take it out on me. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. That's the way it is. And they're like, well, I'm not doing it. Like, it's not my fault. But yes. Okay. So if you're already on Angel List, you could actually just apply for our syndicate. There's a link on our website. It's ltng.ventures. If you're not in our syndicate and you want an easy onboarding process that removes a lot of red tape and necessary kind of waiting period and all this other stuff, then you should fill out our LP application form on the website, and we'll send you a custom invite, okay, which will cut a lot of that nonsense out of the way. But that's only if people do that, right? So if you're already on Angel List, click the button, hit apply. If not, I would suggest doing the LP application. And by the way, I want everyone to do the LP application anyway, because we need to know your superpowers. Like, look at Nico and Opti right here. Like, the work that goes into this is insane. This is an absolute superpower. To put on all this shit that you're seeing here and this and that and chats and live streams and whatever, like, this is a ton. Like, they are experts. All right. When they are managing your YouTube channel or involved with your media, that is a superpower, right? So I would be so lucky if they were in Lightning Ventures. Okay. I would be so lucky to even have them in our fold. All right. To be able to step in with a company to not only help them, potentially invest in them, potentially advise them, consulting, whatever, right? But that's the goal. That's the name of the game, is to get as many amazing people as you can to learn their superpowers, so that when a company says to you, hey, we don't really want to hire a director of like marketing, but we want kind of like a fractional, like, here's what we need. We can spend X, but we can't just get like some random guy to like run your Twitter, right? Because they'll fuck it up. So, and just to be able to provide a lot of tools from your network is great. But kudos to Opti and Nico. I mean, this is freaking awesome.
Man, I appreciate the love, dude. Really, really, really do. And yeah, Mike, this is the way that I see it is, we are in a peaceful revolution. You got to fund Bitcoin companies. Like if we want to win this, look, we saw it with the mem space, the mem pool. It was completely full. And then I was saying yesterday, and I got a lot of heat for it, is like, I hope the fees go to $100 per transaction, because what that's going to do is it's going to spur innovation on the Lightning Network, the likes of which we've never seen before. But to spur that innovation needs funding. And what better funding to come from a Bitcoin only VC, right? So someone who is a Bitcoiner through and through, believes in Bitcoin, believes that Bitcoin is going to make the world a better place, right? And you can tap into that, and not to mention all the resources that you guys could provide, and all the advisement that you guys could provide to Bitcoin companies that are on the come up. And one of the things that I always hear, it's like okay, like Nico, like, it's like, why don't you just invest in Bitcoin? You don't have to you could totally just invest in Bitcoin. But the reality is that we do need the infrastructure in order to become the next global reserve currency. Like, there needs to be Bitcoin companies that are being built. There needs to be Blockstream. There needs to be Swans. There needs to be Orange Pill. Obviously Swan's my favorite. But you guys get the gist of this, right? Is that you need Bitcoin companies. You need those Bitcoin companies to grow. And if you want them to grow, they need funding. And you don't want the funding to come from Andreessen Horowitz. You want the funding to come from fellow Bitcoiners. So, dude, I applaud your effort. You play such a key role in the background, Mike. You play this key role in the background, that you're helping these Bitcoin companies grow. And I really, really want to highlight the importance of what it is you do and the mission that you're on, because it is a vital, it's a key part of the Bitcoin ecosystem to help other Bitcoin companies grow, and also to tap into all the resources that you guys provide as well.
All right, listen, wait, we have to distinguish something here, okay? Because everyone has this kumbaya Bitcoin and we're all in it together and all that kind of thing. But listen, we are not saving the manatees here. This is not like Geyser, which I love, okay? This is not like crowdfunding, more global reach and ways to get your documentary funded, or send 1,000 books to, whatever, or do that. Okay. That is different. All right. We are investing in these companies, and we have high expectations that not only are these investments going to outperform the price of Bitcoin, but it's the way to complement and supercharge your diversity to this space. I mean, many of our companies are holding Bitcoin treasuries. I mean, every time that price ticks higher, you're going back to the future, the months prior, and all your numbers change, right, with the price when you're on a Bitcoin standard. So there's a lot happening there, and it's not like a charity. Okay, when we choose to invest in something, that there are good deals. We don't really lead, but we've negotiated terms and been sometimes the first checks. And I can talk about it now because it is actually technically a public offering. But just because it's come up, we have a deal for the Orange Pill app right now. Okay, it's a live deal in Lightning Ventures. Okay, so we have that. So it's a very modest valuation. Okay. That app 10xing from here versus Bitcoin 10xing from here, the app 10xing, that stuff can happen in a matter of months. Okay. Maybe that can happen with the Bitcoin price from here, right? Because it's Bitcoin. It can do anything. Okay. I mean, who knows, right? I would be on the side that it's not. Okay. That we're not just going to have the $1 million in 90 days, but anything can happen, right? So when you invest in these companies, just the sheer shot, of, $25,000 in Uber, which would have been ridiculous at the time. I mean, that was like $100 million. Okay. Now that took 10 years. Maybe you could have took some money off the table in between, but where else are you going to get returns like that? Like 25 grand in Airbnb seed round would have been $2 billion at the IPO, with a B. That's unreal. And yeah, those are once in a lifetime. We're talking about massive companies, but still very good. And if you think we're early to Bitcoin, we're mad early for the Bitcoin ecosystem, right? And there's a difference between things like Geyser that are doing a lot to fund projects in a non-dilutive equity sort of way, to fund things that you want to happen, right? Passionate stuff, okay? To get those and solve, like for the Canadian trucker issue and a lot of these other things, there's that. Then there's like builders, right? That are building necessary tools, but they're not quite like investable. You know what I mean? Some like node management, something or other, this, that, all the crap that Super Testnet does. And like even LN Bits, which could be a real business. And I hope it is. I mean, everything LN Bits does is like God mode, you know? So like all of these things, like they're all so necessary, right? They're working on major upgrades, right? And those need to get funded, but that's not like the VC world. We're investing in, you know, crowd health because we think it's 1,000 times better than just getting regular health insurance. You know what I mean? We're investing in like Azteco because in like Africa, like it went to Africa, like Azteco would just wildfire. Okay. So these like really big ideas, they're hopefully going to bring substantial returns. And by the way, if you join Lightning Ventures and you put $1,000 into whatever orange pill app, like I'm some kind of scammer, right? You know what I mean? Like it's a registered broker dealer. Like you have documents, right? You're never going to lose the seed phrase to that investment. Okay. You have a ton to potentially gain and not really that much to lose. And directly going up against the price of Bitcoin, like we have our work cut out for us, but it's really fun. And that guy called me a scammer. I think that's pretty funny.
No, I mean, that's fine. That's fine. But like at the end of the day, like, you know, this is the basis of capitalism, right? This is the basis of capitalism. The basis, you have to invest in, you know, you have to invest to make companies grow. And these are Bitcoin companies, which is why I wanted to, you know, if we want this bright orange future, right, we're going to need the infrastructure in place, and who is building the infrastructure? It's Bitcoin only companies that are, you know, putting in the time, putting in the effort to do just that, right? You wouldn't have a Swan without, you know, investors getting them off the ground. You wouldn't have a Strike if you didn't have, you know, investors getting them off the ground. You wouldn't have all these Bitcoin companies that you guys regularly use if you didn't have people that were willing to risk their capital to believe in the vision of the founder to get these off the ground. This is literally the basis of capitalism. At the same time, you know, if you want to just stick to just a Bitcoin, and you know that's your prerogative, you could totally do just that. But I really wanted to highlight Lightning Ventures today, and I want to applaud Mike, because what you do, man, is something that is absolutely necessary for this ecosystem to grow. And it's something that does not get a lot of attention, and it does not get a lot of love. But from Simply, we appreciate you, man. And we do love what you're doing. And we think it's absolutely necessary in order to fund Bitcoin companies and to make those to help those Bitcoin companies grow and to become the behemoths of, you know, the next 10 years, man. And I really do believe that. Let's take out Goldman Sachs. Let's take out all these banks, you know, that are clearly not acting in your best interest. Imagine if the new power players, instead of Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, are companies like Swan or companies like Unchained or companies like Strike, you know. But we gotta fight. We gotta get to that point. And yeah, man. So if you guys want to get involved, we'll put more information in the video description. Hit up Mike. He's on Twitter as well. But anyways, guys, no more delay. Let's get into the news. But before we get into the news, guys, I want to tell you about the best way to properly back up your Bitcoin wallet, backup seed words and passphrases. You don't want to put your 12 or 24 word seed phrase on paper. You want to put it on steel. It's easy to use, hard to destroy. This is the BitPlates Domino, and it's made from highly corrosion resistant 316 marine grade stainless steel. That's right. If you get in a boating accident, you'll be good, because this is marine grade stainless steel, and it offers the ultimate protection against extremes of temperatures. You can use the promo code SIMPLY to get a 10% discount anything on the bitplates.com website. Anyways, guys, no more delay. Let's jump straight into news. Let's do it.
The Daily News.
The Daily News is brought to you by Blockstream Jade, built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. It's an open source hardware wallet for the cold storage of Bitcoin. Check out the brand new limited edition color, the transparent green jade. Blockstream Jade houses a full color camera, allowing for fully air-gapped Bitcoin transactions, scan and display QR codes directly on the device, assign transactions, and verify addresses with ease. Use your Blockstream Jade with your favorite wallet software, such as Blockstream Green, Blue Wallet, Electrum, Sparrow. Get yourself a Blockstream Jade today and take self-custody of your Bitcoin. All right, guys, I also messed that one up. All right, guys, I also want to give a shout out to our new sponsor, the Orange Pill app. Stack friends who stack sats. It's the #1 resource for Bitcoin only events. Create a Bitcoin only event. Find a Bitcoin only event near you. Search by location, date. Are you going to Miami? I'm sure your day is going to be full of amazing speakers and talks, but what are you going to be doing at night? There's nothing worse than being in Miami, a city full of Bitcoiners, but you're in your hotel room watching TV at night. Hop on the Orange Pill app events page and find all the Bitcoiner events near you. Build that local network of Bitcoiners. Together, we are stronger. Anyways, everybody, so we are witnessing massive adoption on a worldwide scale. The matrix is breaking. It's cracking. There's a glitch in the matrix. They're not gonna be able to keep this up for an extended period of time. This is Reuters. Reuters is not a big fan of Bitcoin. They've trashed El Salvador in the past. Actually, they dedicated a whole op-ed on calling Nayib Bukele a crazy person. A year later, boy oh boy, did that blow up in their face. Anyways, we are the media now. Independent content creators are the media now. Anyways, digital coins. This is a Reuters headline that says digital coins lure inflation-wary Argentines and Turks. Can inherently volatile cryptocurrencies become safe havens? Apparently, I mean, look, so in media, there's something really important called framing, right? And framing is the way that you say things and the way that you bring up these rhetorical questions, or you kind of frame it. So they're starting off with the frame, right? That says, can inherently volatile cryptocurrency become a safe haven, right? They're setting the point of discussion, right? Argentina has 104% inflation. 104% inflation. In Bitcoin terms, Bitcoin is making all-time highs if you compare it to the Argentine currency. So just off the bat, that is a straight up misrepresentation. That is a spin. That is a media spin. Anyways, it goes on to say, apparently they can in some parts of the world, such as Argentina and Turkey, where soaring prices and tumbling local currencies have forced people to seek refuge in digital coins. Ownership of digital currencies in Turkey was the highest in the world at 27.1%, followed by Argentina, 23.5%, well above the global Bitcoin and shitcoin ownership rate estimated at 11.9%. What's common in Turkey and Argentina, besides their pole positions in crypto adoption, is high inflation, which has led to crumbling currencies and capital controls to deter local residents from taking money out. Do you know how insane that is? We want to force you to use a money that has 104% inflation. Like, this is nuts. Anyways, the lira and peso have been plunging and are at record lows. Argentina's peso trades around 464 per dollar in the black market, more than double the exchange rate of the official exchange rate of 222. So what does that mean? That means that if you exchange peer-to-peer dollars for pesos with the average everyday person, the actual rate is $464 per peso. If you go to if you land in the Argentine airport and you use one of those exchange places that I'm sure that you guys have seen, if you've traveled internationally, if you've gone to an airport, the official exchange rate that they'll give you is 222. That's the government trying to artificially prop up the value of their currency. Anyways, much of the safe haven buying has been in stable coins such as USD and Tether, which are crypto tokens pegged one-to-one to a traditional asset such as US dollar or gold, giving investors an alternative to scarce dollars. Now, that, I'm telling you right now, that provides a false sense of financial sovereignty. Both USDC and Tether have and done so in the past, frozen people's accounts, right? Not to mention the fact that, hey, the US dollar also has inflation as well. It's just a matter of time before people start to wake up to the fact that only Bitcoin can provide them true financial sovereignty. Anyways, here's this very, very interesting graph. Or graphic, better said, and it gives out, basically it lays out, it goes from July, September 2021, and it goes to July, September 2022. And every single country except for Malaysia, the average adoption of Bitcoin has gone higher. In the United Arab Emirates, it's sitting at roughly 20%. In Indonesia, it's at 20%. In Brazil, it's at 20%. In Thailand, it's at 21.9%. In the Philippines, 23.4%. In Argentina, 23.5%. In Turkey, it's at 27.1%. So it seems like people, and this is what we've been talking about for a long time now, right? It seems that people don't really care about what the talking head on TV in a suit telling you that it's your patriotic duty to use your state currency. They don't really care what that person has to say. They're choosing to opt out into an alternative because it means being able to provide for their families and being able to put food on the table for their families as well. Now, what do the powers that be think of this, right? So we've talked a lot about the IMF, and we're going to continue to do so because I think that they're anti-human. I think that it's an evil organization. Perhaps the people that work there are, not evil. Perhaps they have good intentions. But I mean, like, look, guys, the bailout that the IMF gave Argentina came with the condition that they had to de-incentivize the adoption of Bitcoin. Do you remember how the IMF reacted to when El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender? So the question that I have for you guys, are these institutions are they really concerned for the interest of the people in those countries, or are they really in the business of keeping control of those countries, keeping monetary control of those countries? And I think it's a very, very important question that we have to ask, and something that Alex Gladstein has done. He's done incredible work really exposing this specific topic. So let's read a little bit about the IMF and their so-called, policy procedures. This is a press release from the IMF website themselves, and it says IMF Executive Board discusses elements of effective policies for crypto assets. And here's the part where I think is really, really interesting. It goes on to say, directors agree that crypto assets have implications for policies that lie at the core of the fund's mandate. In particular, the widespread adoption of crypto assets could undermine the effectiveness of monetary policy, circumvent capital flow management measures, and exacerbate fiscal risks. What about 104% inflation? What about double-digit inflation that most countries around the world, the countries that don't have the financial privilege of countries that have relatively stable fiat currencies, like the United States, like the developed world, like Great Britain, like Europe, what about them? It's completely left out of this argument. This argument is just talking, and they use the buzzwords, right? Exacerbate fiscal risks. What is a bigger fiscal risk than having to deal with 104% inflation? What is a bigger risk? I don't know one. Could you tell me one? Circumvent capital flow management measures. I mean, we were reading it here in the Reuters article, how their capital control measures was they're literally trying to stop people to get out of the peso. Not to mention the fact that their official rate would absolutely wreck you. The official exchange rate of the peso is 222, when the actual rate, which they call the black market rate, but that's what the actual free market determines is the actual value of the peso, is at 464 pesos per dollar. So I mean, like, What is it that they're talking about exactly? Anyways, it goes on to say, directors therefore emphasize that robust macroeconomic policies, including credible institutions and monetary policy frameworks, are first order requirements, and that the fund advised in these areas will remain crucial. Directors generally agree that crypto assets should not be granted official currency or legal tender status in order to safeguard monetary sovereignty and stability. What in 104% inflation are they fucking talking about? And remember, they gave El Salvador shit, and they used the same buzzwords that making Bitcoin legal tender is a threat to the financial stability of El Salvador. Nayib Bukele basically gave them a metaphorical middle finger, and look at El Salvador today. A year later, after they gave that warning, what you're seeing in El Salvador is peace and prosperity, the likes of which have never been seen in that small country. And Argentina, which took the advice of the IMF, well, the people and the individuals of Argentina got absolutely fucking wrecked. So I don't think the IMF and the directors and all these people, I don't think that they're acting in the best interest of these people as they advertise themselves to be or to do. This is an utter scam. It's a scam, but it's not only the IMF, it's also the United Nations. It says the United Nations trade body calls for halting cryptocurrency rise in developing countries. Why are you trying to halt something that is actually helping people? Well, it's very simple, because they can't control it. And because they can't control it, they can't control you. The central planners that think they know what's best for you, they can't control you if you choose to opt out. And for now, it's stable coins. That's what's popular because people think that, you know, the dollar is relatively stable. But I'm making the I guess prediction that is a short-term thing, and that over time all roads lead to Bitcoin. Now, what's really interesting, and we've covered this article many times, where it says, you know, all that glitters is not gold, but which I can't find right now, but one of their slogans on top of that website is prosperity for all. So like, do they really mean that slogan? Do they actually believe it? Do they actually really have the best interest of the people of El Salvador? Do they really have the best interest of the people of Argentina? Do they really have the best interest of, the people of Turkey? And all these countries that they say they have the best interest for? Well, you know what? Words are cheap. Actions take work, right? Actions speak for themselves, right? The proof is in the work, right? So I think the IMF has overstayed its welcome, definitely has gone completely away from its originally stated goal. I think you can even make the argument that they're evil. I don't think that the people that work at the IMF are necessarily evil. I really do believe that they believe in their hearts that they're doing what's best. But hey, look at the results. The results speak for themselves. The problem is that the United Nations and the IMF, they're going to have to give up some control in order for this to happen. And that's going to happen whether they like it or not. They can't stop this train. So obviously, they're staunch opponents against what's happening, because to them, what it boils down to is power, money, politics, and people opting out of a system of which they can't control, they can't debase, is a big threat to them. They've overstayed their welcome, but it doesn't matter because people are not listening to them anymore. And the reason they're not listening to them anymore is because the shit that they've promised hasn't worked. And you know what is working? You know what doesn't care what country you happen to live in, what country you happen to be born in, what the color of your skin is, what your religion is? Bitcoin. Bitcoin is for everyone. And we have to get them to acknowledge that. We have to get them to admit that, because that's an indefensible position for them, and they will not have a good answer to that. So what they're relying on is misrepresentation, spin, and misinformation, basically saying Bitcoin is a threat to financial stability. That's not the case. The IMF and the United Nations are a threat to financial stability, and that is the truth. Anyways, Mike, what's your take on this? And we'll pass it on to Opti.
Nothing to add. You just tickled my fancy. You're 100% right there. One thing though, I'm curious about those charts. It's always crypto and not Bitcoin. So some of the adoption there, I am really curious. Is that NFTs? Is that YOLO stuff, or are those numbers more? Is Bitcoin a significant bit of that? But I have nothing to add. I mean, what you said was 100%, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think so. According to the article, mostly the vast majority is stable coins, and the reason it's stable coins is because they're using, a lot of people are using stable coins in order to like circumvent the capital controls that these local governments have installed. But again, I think that's a short-term phenomenon. I think that when people wake up to the fact that the U.S. dollar is not stable, and what's that meme that's very popular? Sats are my stable coin. I think when the world wakes up to the fact that, hey, if I take self-custody of my Bitcoin, can't be debased, it can't be confiscated easy, and I could travel anywhere, I could vote with my wallet and vote with my feet, I think that the world's going to wake up to the fact that, hey, it's either Bitcoin or slavery. We've said this many times on the show. All roads lead to Bitcoin, but I think that this is a good step in the right direction, because at least people are now willing and able to seek alternatives to the local currencies that governments are providing. And I think in the process, it's exposing those said governments, and it's also exposing institutions like the IMF. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this, bro?
Well, first, just love that the world is waking up to the Bitcoin signal. We talk about it all the time. We all know the meme, all roads lead to Bitcoin. And we know the blueprint. Pain drives people to change. First, they'll probably move into the dollar, then gold, and then shitcoins. But eventually, everything will funnel into Bitcoin as everyone wakes up to what is really happening. And it's what we say here all the time on the show. It's not red or blue. It's about control and freedom. So it's orange versus green. The dollar, the fiat system, is designed to control you. And, who cares what the IMF wants? Like, as an individual, just saving Bitcoin because it means giving you a better life. And, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, save yourself, save in Bitcoin, run the software for yourself, run a Bitcoin node, protect yourself and your family, and everything will basically, eventually make its way out, and people will start to wake up to the signal that the only thing they can really save in is Bitcoin and opting out of this madness. So again, I think Foss said it first, but all roads lead to Bitcoin. It's only a matter of time until everyone wakes up to what is happening. So I guess the world just needs a little more pain. I guess we need the IMF and their friends, the cohorts of central planners, to continue to try to scramble to control people's behaviors, because the more they squeeze, the more people will go on to the Bitcoin standard. So again, it's all good for Bitcoin, and we're just seeing it happen in real time.
100%. And I like, make no mistake, they are the strongest advocates for Bitcoin. They're the strongest marketing arm of Bitcoin. Is the IMF, it is the world governments, because it's like the more they say these things, the more they get caught on lies, the more people start to say enough is enough. I got to provide for my family. I got to use the money that doesn't steal from me, and then here is the very basic question that I think once the mass consciousness starts asking this, I think it's game over. It's game, set, and match, which is, why are we being forced to use money that steals from us? Why is that? Well, why does money have to steal from us? I think once people start asking that question, the vast majority of people start asking that question, governments will not have a good response. Their only response is misrepresentations, spin, and of course, they try to coerce people to use these central bank digital currencies, which they don't want. They don't want to use them because central bank digital currencies do not solve inflation. We don't want more efficient payments. We have the fucking Lightning Network. We just want money that doesn't steal from us. And that is Bitcoin, of course. Anyways, everybody, let's get to the meme review. Opti, let's do it.
The Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Kaboomracks. I get this question all the time. Nico, where should I buy Bitcoin miners? The answer is Kaboomracks. It's the best place to buy Bitcoin miners. That's where you're going to find the best deals and the best prices. Start your mining utopia today. To check out their racks, you got to go to t.me/Kaboomracks. Join their Telegram group and start your mining journey today. Kaboomracks. All right, guys, before we get into the meme review, I want to tell you about Simply Bitcoin is throwing its first live event. I'm talking about the Touching Tips ceremony, which I'm doing with BTC Sessions. We're going to be having a live show Tuesday, May 16th at 11 a.m. during the Bitcoin conference week. It's going to be at Bitcoin Grove. What is happening? I'll be dyeing a strip of my hair blonde by the lovely Mrs. Sessions. We'll be having a live Simply Sessions news show stream. We'll be having giveaways and prizes. The luscious golden locks of BTC Sessions and myself will combine and possibly create a god candle, the likes of which Bitcoin has never seen. We'll also have a few drinks and enjoy each other's company. I hope to see a lot of you guys there. There's more. If you want to know more details, you want to purchase tickets, it's all in the video description. I hope to see you guys there. Anyways, Opti, what type of memes do you have lined up for us today, brother?
Well, I'm not going to lie, Nico. I thought you were going to rug pull the memes today because we went long and I was getting ready for the tomatoes from everyone. But you guys already know the deal. Tweet to the bullets, memes are the artillery. We are in an information war right now. And you guys are on the front lines. You guys continue to get the calls of action. You continue to ridicule the corporate press and you continue to make our lives better by making us laugh. Anyways, the first meme is we had Muzz on the show. So I was on your Twitter and I saw one of the first things or the last things you guys tweeted was a perfect meme. So I'm like, all right, perfect. So here we go. Lightning Ventures. It goes, these scam coins are getting crazy. And there's a picture of the $100 bill. And it goes, these scam coins are getting crazy. Someone just showed me this one. 27 trillion in circulation, unlimited supply cap, only one node, 25% of supply minted in the last 6 months, and 1% of holders own 30%. What shitcoin is this? It is the American dollar. These scam coins are getting crazy. Okay, this next one is by the BTC Therapist, and it goes, time is running out, hashtag Bitcoin. And we got Lois from Family Guy, and she's looking at her pills, and it goes, when the BTC halving is less than 1 year away, and the pills is cheap sats, and it is her freaking out because we are already 100% in Bitcoin, and we still have cheap sats, and we need to figure out how to get more Bitcoin. Oh, I feel the pain. Okay, this next one is by Magoo, and it goes, simplistic articulation of why Bitcoin, and we got a little chart here, and it goes, corrupt money leading to corrupt incentives, which corrupts the money more, which eventually corrupts society, which continues to corrupt incentives, and it's all just a circular negative feedback loop of corrupting the money, which eventually leads to corrupting society, and you guys are feeling the pain because you guys are a part of it. Anyways, this next meme is by BTC Padre, and it goes, I've learned a lot today. Mostly, a lot of you are emotional, and the other half are psychos that know too much about the protocol. And we got the Matthew McConaughey meme here, but it's actually a Pepe with laser eyes, smoking a cigarette, looking at its phone, just stressed out and wondering what everyone is talking about. TLDR, everyone is emotional, and the other half is just complete psychos and know way too much about the Bitcoin network. Anyway, this next meme is by BTC Sessions. And it goes, if you run any sort of business that accepts Bitcoin, you're going to start looking like a clown if you can't handle lightning payments. And I forget what show this is. It's on Cartoon Network, but it goes, he's beating him with a book and he goes, time to learn about the Lightning Network. Anyways, this next meme is by Pub Lord Hot, and it goes, phew, cheers with some beers. And I still don't know what show this is from, guys.
It's Nicolas Cage and the Pedro Pascal.
I know who they are, but I don't know what this show is or what it's a commercial. I don't know. Anyways, we got Nicolas Cage and it goes, why are you laughing? The fees are so high. And we got, what's his name? Pedro. And he goes, I don't fucking sell. It doesn't matter to me. This is the way. Anyways, this next one is a continuation of what we say here all the time. This is by Liberty Capital, your declarations of memes. And it's a signals getting out there, guys. It's no longer Democrat versus Republican. It's control versus freedom. This is the framing, guys. It's not left or right. It is orange versus green. It is about total control and freedom and you opting out on the Bitcoin network. Anyways, drop your meme review score in the chat and we will cover them live as we cover ours. Anyways, I'm running out of things here, Nico. So I'm looking around and I have my electrical plug it's actually plugged into the wall still. So
a live electrical plug.
Live electrical plug.
I'm digging through my desk, bro. Oh, I got something. I'm going to give it an orange lock. It's not just a lock. It's an orange lock. It's orange. Yeah, that's right. Anyways, Mike, what would you give those memes? What is that? It's a gold.
Oh, it's a vape.
It's a gold vape. It's a gold vape. All right, there's some good scores. Anyways, guys, before we start reading some of the viewer scores, I want to give a shout out to our awesome clothing sponsor. Opti and I wear the merch every single day. I'm wearing the classic Simply Bitcoin camo hoodie. Opti's wearing the dad hat. He's wearing also the black classic white represent hoodie with the symbol. There's snapbacks that are still available. You can scan the QR code on screen. It will take you there. And you can use the promo code simply-bitcoin and you can get yourself a discount. Anything on the representltd.com store. Check out all their other stuff. It's also really, really, really badass. Anyways, Opti, let's get to the scores. But first, we have to cue the epic music. Be aware and focus. I give those memes Bob Dylan vocals on the song Pump It Up. You've got to pump it up. Okay. Very nice. Bitcoin for Canadians. I give those memes Nico's hot hair dyeing ceremony gone wrong. He shaves his beard off instead. Don't say that. Now I'm scared. Opti's Coffee UTXO stuck in mempool says the audience at the live event also touching tips with Nico and Sessions. I like it. Igor, I give those memes all the 1 sat byte transactions in the waiting room. Ranmore, meme score, Bitcoin is one-way street. Yes, I absolutely agree. Elaine, proof of work documented by Fed and IMF for all their fiat. Button pushers with sore fingers. Okay. We end the meme score because of the buzzer. No other reason. Anyways, guys, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the audio only version of the show. You can find us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Fountain. We appreciate all the love that we're getting on Fountain, guys. Thank you so much for helping the show stay on air. Also, check out our Substack. Everything we do is absolutely free, but if you do want to support the show, you go to www.simplybitcoin.news. You subscribe to our Substack, $7 a month. But like I said, everything we do is free, but we really do appreciate the support if you feel so inclined. Anyways, I also want to thank our special guest for today, Mike, managing partner at Lightning Ventures. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell everybody where they could find you on the interwebs?
Sure. My friends call me Muzz. My Twitter handle is Mike Jarmuz, Jarmuz. Our website is ltng.ventures, or if you just search for Lightning Ventures, we invest in Bitcoin companies and we try to spread that, our vigor and enthusiasm for that. I'll be in Miami. We're having a Lightning Ventures party there. I hope to see you there.
I will be there.
And hope your awesome lady's going to belt out some tunes. She can sing quite a bit. She's like in the band. We're going to figure it out. But yeah, so Miami should be fun. And then in Prague, and no idea what's after that. BitBlock Boom and Pacific and all that good stuff.
Well, it's been an honor, Mike, to have you on the show. Really appreciate it and look forward to seeing you next week, man. It's going to be a great time.
Cool, buddy. Thanks for having me.
All right, bro. Take care. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We really, really appreciate it. We would not be here without all your guys' support. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to smash that like button. If you feel like we provided you some value, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Really, really helped. Or our Rumble channel. We have a nice live audience from Rumble as well. So we really appreciate you guys tuning in. And of course, the number one thing you could do to help push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution is share all Bitcoin content. Don't share shitcoin content because that's counterproductive, but share all Bitcoin content. Get it out there. Get your friends and family orange pill. That's how we're going to win the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. If you want to join the after party, we are co-hosting a spaces with our friends over at Swan Bitcoin. Best place to build your Bitcoin stack. Shout out to the best producer in the game, producer Jacob. And we're hosting that all the way till 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So about 24 minutes of just conversation, good time. Opti is going to be holding it down. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
All right, you already know the deal. It's your boy Opti. We are in Twitter Spaces. I already got someone up here. I'm gonna get trolled by Nate. I can already feel it in my bones. But you already know the deal. This is a Bitcoin space by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. So come up here, add some 2 sats to the. I see Tal laughing down there. Oh man, what a day! What a day. Well, honestly, guys, I know I might be throwing a curveball on you guys here. But there is another space that I kind of want to get into. So we'll roll this one out for a little bit. But hey, Nate, what are you doing? What do you want to add?